The pregnancy test clattered into the sink. 2 pink lines. Clear as a death sentence. Ada's fingers gripped the porcelain edge, knuckles bone white, because if she let go, she'd collapse. 6 weeks. It had been 6 weeks since the masquerade gala. 6 weeks since she'd made the worst decision of her life. 6 weeks since the masked stranger with smoke in his voice had whispered, "Stay with me tonight." And she'd been stupid enough to say yes. The studio apartment felt smaller suddenly, suffocating, the walls closing in like a fist around her throat. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mother in Houston. "Did you send this month's payment?" Ada's laugh came out broken. Raw. She had $847 in her bank account. Rent was due in 4 days. Her father's medical debt sat at $64,000 and climbing with interest. She worked double shifts at the hotel, slept 4 hours a night, survived on instant ramen and the staff meals she could steal. And now this. Now a baby. Now a man whose face she'd never fully seen, but whose hands she remembered everywhere. The door to her apartment opened without a knock. Ada spun, heart slamming against her ribs. He stood in her doorway like an apparition, like something her panic had manifested into reality. Except this time, he wasn't wearing a mask. And suddenly, horrifyingly, she understood why his presence had commanded every room at that gala. Why people had stepped aside when he walked past. Why even the hotel's owner, a man who never bowed to anyone, had greeted him with deference that looked like fear. Kwon Jae-hun, Seoul's youngest crime syndicate head, the man they called the Reaper, standing in her kitchen, staring at the test in the sink. Eyes fixed on those 2 pink lines like they were a contract written in her blood. "You're pregnant." Not a question. A statement. Cold. Certain. Ada's voice came out smaller than she intended. "How did you? I've had people watching you since that night." He stepped inside, closed the door with a quiet click that sounded like a cell locking. "Making sure you were safe. Making sure no one discovered what we did. What you did." Her hands moved instinctively to her stomach. "Protective. Maternal. I didn't know who you were. I didn't know. It doesn't matter." He crossed the tiny space in 3 strides. Up close, he was devastating. Sharp jawline, dark eyes that missed nothing, the kind of beautiful that made you forget to breathe. "You're carrying my child. That makes you mine now." The words hit like a physical blow. "I don't belong to anyone." His smile was soft, terrifying. "You do now? Notice how you're still here? You're different from the ones who already clicked away. People like you subscribe. So, why haven't you?" Her name was Adiza Okonkwo, but everyone called her Ada. 26 years old, daughter of Nigerian immigrants. Former culinary prodigy who'd traded dreams of Paris for the brutal reality of survival. When her father died 18 months ago, cancer, swift and merciless, he'd left behind medical bills that could drown 3 generations. Ada's younger siblings were still in school. Her mother worked 2 jobs and still couldn't make the minimum payments. So Ada had made the choice every eldest daughter knows in her bones. She'd sacrificed herself first. Dropped out of culinary school 3 months before graduation. Sold everything she owned. Bought a one-way ticket to Seoul because the private chef position at the Gangnam Pearl Hotel paid triple what she could make in Houston, and they provided housing. The plan was simple. Work until she couldn't stand. Send every dollar home. Disappear into the machinery of survival. No friends. No distractions. No men. Especially no men. She'd kept that promise for 11 months. Then came the masquerade gala. The hotel hosted it annually. Seoul's elite gathering for an evening of champagne, designer masks, and the kind of wealth that made Ada's stomach turn. She'd been working the event, carrying trays of hors d'oeuvres she'd prepared herself, invisible in her white shirt and black slacks. Until someone bumped her from behind. The champagne tray tilted. Gravity pulled. Ada pitched forward, already calculating the cost of 30 shattered crystal flutes against her salary. Strong arms caught her before she hit the ground. "Careful," a voice said. Low. Rough. Smoke and whiskey. The fall would have hurt. She'd looked up into a silver mask and dark eyes that seemed to see straight through her invisibility. "Thank you," she'd managed. "I should stay." His hand was still at her waist, warm through the thin fabric of her shirt. "Please, just stay." She should have walked away. Should have remembered her promise, her plan, the walls she'd built to protect herself from exactly this kind of complication. Instead, she'd let him pull her into an empty gallery. Let him remove her service badge and tuck it into his pocket like he was stealing more than just her name. Let him trace the curve of her jaw with fingers that trembled slightly, the only sign that he was as affected as she was. "I don't even know your name," she'd whispered. "Good." His forehead had pressed against hers. "Tonight, we're no one. Tomorrow, we forget." They hadn't forgotten. Or at least, she hadn't. Every night for 6 weeks, she'd remembered his hands, his mouth, the way he'd whispered her name like it was a prayer and a curse. The way he'd touched her like she was precious and breakable and utterly his. She told herself it was just physical, just one night of escape from the grinding weight of responsibility. She'd been lying. Now he was in her apartment, and the mask was gone, and she finally understood what she'd done. "I have 2 options for you," Jehun said, his voice terrifyingly calm. "And I need you to listen very carefully before you choose." Ada's back hit the counter. "I'm not choosing anything." "Yes, you are." He pulled a phone from his pocket, swiped through images, then turned the screen toward her. "Look." The first photo showed Ada leaving the hotel after her morning shift. The second showed her at the convenience store, buying instant ramen. The third showed her laughing with a coworker outside the staff entrance. Normal moments. Mundane moments. Except in every single photo, there was a red circle around someone in the background. Different faces. Different days. Different locations. Watchers. What? Her voice cracked. "What is this?" "Proof that my enemies know about you." He swiped again. More photos. More red circles. "They've been following you for 3 weeks. Waiting. Watching. Making sure." Making sure of what? His eyes dropped to her stomach. "That you're pregnant. That you're carrying my heir." The room tilted. "In my world," Jehun continued quietly, "an heir means power. Power means leverage. And leverage means people will kill for it." He stepped closer, and she smelled bergamot and cedar, the same scent from that night, now triggering memories her body remembered too well. "You have 2 choices, Ada. Come with me willingly, move into my penthouse, accept my protection, marry me publicly, and live. Or," his jaw tightened, "or stay here, alone and exposed, and pray my enemies show mercy before they put a bullet in your skull and cut my heir from your womb." The words hung in the air like poison. Ada's hand moved to her stomach. The baby was barely the size of a poppy seed, but already she felt fiercely protective of it. Already, she knew she'd do anything, sacrifice anything, to keep it safe. "This is insane," she whispered. "This is reality. You're asking me to marry a stranger. I'm telling you to survive." His hand came up slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, his palm cupped her face with devastating gentleness. "I know you're scared. I know you hate me. I know this isn't the life you chose. Then let me go." "I can't." His thumb brushed across her cheekbone, and she hated how her body leaned into the touch. "You're mine now. The baby makes you mine. And I protect what's mine." Tears burned behind her eyes. "I don't want this." "I know." He leaned closer, his breath warm against her temple. "But wanting doesn't matter anymore. Surviving does." She thought about her mother, her siblings, the money they needed, the debt that never stopped growing. She thought about the baby, the tiny spark of life that had no say in any of this but depended on her completely. She thought about the watchers in the red circles, the strangers who'd been following her, waiting for confirmation of what she carried. The violence in Jehun's world that would reach her whether she accepted his protection or not. "How long?" Her voice broke. "How long do I have to decide?" "You already have." His forehead pressed against hers, the same gesture from that night, now weighted with something heavier than desire. "Your hands are on your stomach, Ada. You've been protecting our baby since the moment you saw those 2 pink lines." He was right. She'd already decided. She just hated that he knew it. "I need to pack." His exhale sounded like relief, like he'd been holding his breath, uncertain if she'd choose survival or stubborn independence. "I'll wait," he said quietly. "Take what matters." Ada moved through her tiny apartment in a daze. Clothes, toiletries, The cookbook her grandmother had sent from Nigeria, the only connection to home that didn't hurt. At the door, she paused, looked back at the studio that had been her cage and her sanctuary for 11 months. I can't come back, can I? Jehun's expression was almost gentle. No. Ever. Not safely. She nodded once, stepped into the hallway. The door closed behind her with a soft click. And Adiz Okonkwo, the girl who'd come to Seoul to disappear, vanished into a different kind of invisibility. One that came with silk sheets and armed guards and a man who looked at her like she was the answer to a question he'd been afraid to ask. Would she survive loving a man the world called a monster? Or would his enemies bury them both? The penthouse wasn't what Ada expected. She'd imagined cold sterility, the soulless luxury of a man who dealt in death. Chrome and glass and emptiness. A space designed to intimidate rather than comfort. Instead, she found warmth. Traditional Korean art hung beside contemporary pieces, bold brushstrokes next to geometric minimalism. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Namsan Tower, the city lights spreading below like a carpet of stars. Warm wood floors, soft lighting, and in the corner, tucked beside a leather reading chair, a small bookshelf that made her breath catch in her throat. Nigerian authors. Adichie, Achebe, Emikida, Soyinka, her grandmother's favorites. You read these? The words came out sharper than she intended. Jehun set her bag down near the entrance. I've been reading them for 6 weeks. Why? His silence was heavy, meaningful, because he'd been planning this. Planning her, learning her culture, her background, the literature that shaped her worldview, all while she'd been telling herself that night meant nothing. Your room is down the hall, he said finally, all business now. Private bathroom, walk-in closet. I've had clothes ordered in your size, but if you need anything else. Separate rooms? He turned, and something flashed in his eyes. Something hungry. Did you want to share mine? Heat pooled low in her belly, unwanted, traitorous. She remembered his hands, his mouth, the way he'd made her forget her own name. No, she lied. His smile was knowing. Dangerous. Liar. She wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly cold despite the warmth of the space. What am I supposed to do here? Just exist? Wait for you to decide when I can leave. You can't leave. No apology in his voice. Just fact. Not until the threat is neutralized. So I'm your prisoner. My wife. He stepped closer, and she caught that scent again. Bergamot and cedar, expensive and dark. Publicly. Legally. It's the only way to protect you. I don't even know you. You know enough. Another step. Close enough now that she could see the exhaustion in his eyes, the tension in his jaw. You know I'll burn this city down before I let anyone touch you. That's all that matters. That's not love. That's obsession. I never said it was love. His hand came up, fingers ghosting along her jawline, without quite touching. I said it was protection. The rest. He paused, and for the first time, she saw uncertainty crack through his control. The rest is something I don't have words for yet. Ada's heart hammered against her ribs. 1, 2, 3, for beats. She was counting, the way she always did when anxiety threatened to drown her. Show me to my room, she whispered. He did. The room was larger than her entire studio apartment. King-sized bed with silk sheets. A sitting area with a velvet couch. Windows overlooking the Han River. And on the nightstand, a small ceramic dish filled with shea butter, the specific brand her mother used, imported from Lagos. He'd thought of everything, prepared for her like she was inevitable. There's a panic button by the bed, Jehun said from the doorway. Press it and 6 guards will be here in 30 seconds. Press it twice and I'll be here in 10. Why would I need a panic button in your own penthouse? His expression darkened. Because my world doesn't stop at the front door. Because danger doesn't need an invitation. Because I need you to survive, Ada, and that means preparing for every possibility. Even the possibility that you're the danger? The words hung between them, sharp, accusatory. Jehun's jaw tightened. Especially that possibility. Then he was gone, the door closing with a soft click that somehow felt louder than a slam. Ada sank onto the bed, her hands trembling. She pressed them against her stomach, still flat, still showing no signs of the chaos growing inside. "We're in trouble," she whispered to the baby. So much trouble. Outside, Soul glittered. Inside, Ada felt the walls of her gilded cage settling into place. She didn't see him for 2 days. Guards brought meals, elaborate Korean dishes she hadn't ordered, prepared by a chef she never saw. They left clothes in her closet, designer labels she couldn't pronounce. They maintained a respectful distance, but were always there, always watching. On the 3rd morning, she found a note slipped under her door. "Kitchen is yours. Cook whatever you need. J.H." The kitchen. Ada moved through the penthouse with cautious steps, half expecting armed guards to stop her. Instead, they nodded respectfully as she passed, their expressions carefully neutral. The kitchen was a chef's dream. Professional-grade appliances, granite countertops, a spice rack that held ingredients from 6 continents. And in the refrigerator, fresh vegetables, premium meats, imported Nigerian staples, egusi, yuziza leaves, palm oil. Her throat tightened. He was trying. In his cold, calculated way, Kwon Ji-hun was trying to make this cage feel less like captivity. She cooked jollof rice, the way her grandmother taught her, long-grain rice, tomato paste, fresh peppers blended until smooth, the specific ratio of spices that made it sing. She made fried plantains, goat stew simmering low and slow, puff dough rising on the counter. The scents filled the penthouse, familiar, comforting, home. When Ji-hun appeared in the kitchen doorway at 7 p.m., he looked exhausted. His suit jacket was gone, tie loosened, sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms corded with muscle and decorated with scars she wanted to ask about but didn't. "You cooked." Not a question. A statement weighted with something that sounded like gratitude. "I needed to do something." She stirred the stew, not looking at him. "Sitting in that room was making me insane. I should have thought of that." He moved closer, and she felt his presence like heat against her back. "I'm not used to this. Having someone here. Someone who needs more than silence and space." "What are you used to?" "Being alone. Simple. Honest. It's safer that way." Ada turned and found him closer than she expected. Close enough to see the shadows under his eyes, the tension in his shoulders, the way he looked at her like she was an equation he couldn't solve. "When's the last time you slept?" she asked quietly. "Thursday. Today was Sunday." "Ji-hun, I can't sleep knowing you're here." His voice dropped, rough with exhaustion and something raw. "Knowing you're close enough to touch, but still a stranger. Knowing that any mistake I make could get you killed." Her heart cracked open, just slightly, just enough to let in the dangerous realization that this cold, terrifying man was afraid. Not for himself, for her. "Sit down," she said. "Eat." He obeyed. They ate in silence at first, but then Ada noticed the way he closed his eyes when he tasted the jollof rice. The small sound of satisfaction that escaped his throat. The way his shoulders dropped, tension bleeding out with each bite. "This is incredible," he said finally. "It's just rice. It's art." He looked at her, really looked at her, and she felt exposed in a way that had nothing to do with clothing. "You were supposed to go to culinary school in Paris. Before your father died." She set down her fork. "How do you know that?" "I know everything about you, Ada. No apology. Just fact. Your father's medical debt. Your mother's double shifts. Your siblings' school tuition. The dreams you sacrificed to keep your family afloat." Anger sparked, hot and bright. "You had no right. I had every right." He leaned forward, and his eyes were fierce. "The moment you became pregnant with my child, your life became my responsibility. That means knowing your vulnerabilities, your fears, the debts that keep you trapped. I'm not trapped by debt. I'm trapped by you. Yes. No denial. No excuse. But at least with me, you're safe. At least with me, your family's debt disappears. At least with me, you survive." The words hit like stones. "You paid it off." Her voice was barely a whisper. "Didn't you?" "The medical debt." His silence was confirmation. "When? The day I brought you here. $64,000. Gone. Just like that. The weight she'd been carrying for 18 months, erased with a wire transfer she never asked for. Why? Tears burned behind her eyes. "Why would you do that?" "Because you're mine to protect now." He reached across the table, his fingers brushing hers. And I take care of what's mine. She should pull away. Should tell him that money doesn't buy ownership, that generosity doesn't erase captivity. Instead, she let her fingers curl around his. Just for a moment. Just long enough to feel less alone. That night, she found him on the rooftop terrace. She should have stayed in her room. Should have maintained the distance that kept things safe and simple. But sleep wouldn't come, and the baby made her nauseous, and the walls of her beautiful prison felt like they were closing in. Jahun stood at the railing, city lights reflecting in his dark eyes. He'd changed into simple black pants and a white t-shirt, the first time she'd seen him in anything casual. He looked younger this way, more human, less like the Reaper and more like a man carrying too much weight. Can't sleep? His voice was soft. Careful. The baby. She moved to stand beside him, maintaining careful distance. Morning sickness doesn't care what time it actually is. I've had ginger tea sent up. Crackers. The doctor said small, frequent meals help. You talked to a doctor about me? I've talked to 12 doctors about you. He finally looked at her, and the intensity in his eyes made her breath catch. Obstetricians, nutritionists, specialists in high-risk pregnancies. I need to know everything. Every symptom, every danger, every way to keep you both safe. High risk. Fear spiked sharp and cold. Is something wrong with the baby? No. His hand came up, cupping her face with devastating gentleness. But you're carrying the heir to Seoul's most dangerous crime family. That makes everything high risk. She should pull away from his touch. She leaned into it instead. I don't know how to do this, she whispered. How to be here. How to be yours without losing myself. You don't have to be mine. His thumb brushed across her cheekbone, slow and reverent. You just have to let me keep you alive. That's the same thing. No. He leaned closer, his forehead pressing against hers. That gesture again, the one that felt like coming home. Being mine means belonging. I'm not asking for that. I'm not asking for your love, or your submission, or your surrender. Then what are you asking for? Time. His breath was warm against her lips. Time to prove I'm not the monster you think I am. Time to show you that this, us, doesn't have to be a cage. It already is. I know. His voice cracked, just slightly. Just enough to show her the man beneath the mask. But cages can have open doors, Ada. You just have to trust me enough to find them. She pulled back, needing space, needing air. Trust is earned, she said. I know. And you've given me no reason to trust you. I know that too. He turned back to the city, hands gripping the railing like it was the only thing keeping him anchored. So I'll earn it. Every day, every moment. Until you believe me when I say I'd rather die than hurt you. The words should have sounded dramatic, manipulative. Instead, they sounded like a vow. The next 3 weeks passed in a strange rhythm. Mornings, Ada cooked. Jahun joined her for breakfast, the only guaranteed time they spent together. She taught him Yoruba words while he taught her Korean. He laughed when she cursed at him accidentally. She smiled when he mispronounced puff puff so badly it sounded like an insult. Afternoons, he disappeared into his office. Business she didn't ask about. Violence she didn't want to know about. The darkness of his world that he kept carefully separated from her light. Evenings, they found each other on the terrace. Talking. Sometimes just existing in comfortable silence. His hand would find hers. Her shoulder would lean against his arm. Small touches. Nothing demanding. Just present. She was softening toward him. She knew it. Hated it. Couldn't stop it. Because beneath the cold exterior, Kwon Jae-hoon was gentle with her. Patient. Present. He asked about her dreams, her family, the cookbook from her grandmother. He listened when she cried about missing Houston. He held her hair when morning sickness bent her over the toilet at 3 a.m. He was trying. And slowly, dangerously, she was letting him in. The woman appeared on a Tuesday. Ada was in the living room, reading one of the Nigerian novels from Jahun's shelf, when the elevator doors opened without warning. She was beautiful in the way that hurt to look at. Perfect skin, designer dress, elegant features arranged in an expression of pure disdain. So you're the nobody carrying his bastard. Ada's book slipped from her fingers. The woman stalked closer, her heels clicking against the hard wood like a countdown. Did he tell you about me? About how we were engaged. How I was supposed to give him heirs. Who? Cha Seoyeon. The name dropped like a blade. Daughter of the Cha Syndicate. The woman Jehun was supposed to marry before you ruined everything. The words hit like physical blows, each one landing precisely where it would hurt most. Ada stood on shaking legs. I don't know what you're talking about. Of course you don't. Seoyeon circled her slowly, appraising. You're just the accident. The inconvenient complication he's too honorable to dispose of. She leaned in close, her perfume cloying and expensive. But honor has limits, darling. And when he gets bored of playing house with you, when he remembers who he actually is. Get out. Ada's voice came out steadier than she felt. I'm not finished. Touch her, and I'll break every bone in your body. Jehun's voice cut through the room like ice. He stood near the elevator. When had he arrived? His expression absolutely merciless. Not the Reaper. Something worse. Something personal. Seoyeon straightened, and for the first time, Ada saw fear flicker across her perfect features. Jehun, I was just threatening my wife. He crossed the room in 4 strides, positioning himself between them. In my home, while carrying my child. She's not your wife yet. She will be. Each word was deliberate, final. And if you ever come near her again, if you so much as breathe in her direction, I will make you disappear so completely that your own father won't remember your name. Seoyeon's composure cracked. Rage twisted her beautiful features into something ugly. You chose her over me. Over us. Over everything we were supposed to build together. There was no us. Jehun's voice was cold. Dead. There was a political arrangement I never wanted and you used as a leash. I loved you. You loved my name. My power. The status I could give you. He stepped closer to Seoyeon, and she actually flinched. But you never loved me. And you sure as hell don't get to threaten the woman carrying my child because your pride is wounded. Seoyeon's eyes found Ada's one last time. The hatred there was visceral. Poisonous. Enjoy him while you can, she whispered. Women who get close to Kwon Jehun don't tend to live very long. Then she was gone, the elevator doors closing on her perfect, furious face. Silence crashed down like broken glass. She's the one. Ada's voice sounded distant. Strange. Isn't she? The one trying to kill you. Jehun's shoulders were rigid. Yes. And now she knows about me. About the baby. Yes. How long? Ada's legs threatened to give out. How long do I have before she tries to kill me too? His silence was answer enough. Then his hands were on her face, tilting her chin up, forcing her to meet his eyes. Listen to me very carefully. His voice was rough, desperate. I will not let her hurt you. I will not let anyone hurt you. Do you understand? I will burn this entire city to the ground before I let her take you from me. You can't promise that. Tears spilled down her cheeks. You can't promise I'll be safe. Watch me. He kissed her then. Not gentle. Not asking permission. Pure desperation and possession and fear channeled into the press of his mouth against hers. Ada gasped, and he swallowed the sound, one hand tangling in her hair, the other pulling her closer, closer, until there was no space left between them. She should push him away, should remember all the reasons this was dangerous. Instead, her hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him down, kissing him back with 6 weeks of loneliness and fear and the terrifying realization that she was falling for her captor. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, his forehead pressed against hers. I can't lose you, he whispered. I've only had you for 3 weeks, and I already can't imagine breathing without you. That's not love. That's obsession. I know. His laugh was broken. I know it's sick. I know it's wrong. But I can't stop. Ada's hands came up to cup his face. She's going to come for me. Let her try. His eyes were fierce. Absolute. I've killed for less than you. I'll kill 100 times over to keep you safe. The words should have horrified her. Instead, they felt like the most honest promise anyone had ever made. That night, Ada woke to voices. Low. Urgent. Coming from Jehun's office down the hall. She should have stayed in bed. Should have respected his privacy. But fear overrode reason. She crept to the door, pressing her ear against the wood. Tracking her movements, a male voice was saying, Seoyeon's been meeting with buyers from Busan. Weapons. Lots of them. How many people does she have? Jehun's voice was cold, controlled. 20 that we've confirmed. But there could be more. She's recruiting from smaller syndicates, promising them territory when you're gone. When I'm gone. Jehun laughed, but there was no humor in it. She thinks she can take me out. She thinks she can take out the girl. Without an heir, your claim weakens. Without the girl, you're vulnerable. Then we make sure she never gets close. Boss. The man hesitated. Maybe it's time to consider alternatives. Send the girl somewhere safe. America, maybe. Hide her until. No. The word was absolute. She stays with me. But if Sioyin comes for Ada, I'll be there. End of discussion. Silence. Then footsteps approaching the door. Ada scrambled back, but not fast enough. The door opened, and Jehun stood there, his expression shifting from cold command to something softer when he saw her. You heard. I heard. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. Come here. She shouldn't. Should demand answers. Demand transparency. Demand he stop keeping her in the dark about the danger stalking them both. Instead, she stepped into his arms. He held her tight, one hand cradling the back of her head, the other splayed protectively across her stomach. I'm scared, she whispered against his chest. I know. What if she wins? What if she won't? His voice was absolute. I promise you, Ada. She won't. You can't promise that. Watch me. He pulled back just enough to look at her. His eyes were dark, fierce, full of something that looked dangerously close to love. If I tell you to run, he said quietly, you run. No questions. No arguments. You run and you don't look back. Jehun, promise me. His hands tightened on her. Promise me that if it comes down to your life or mine, you choose yours. You choose our baby. You run. The words felt like a premonition, like he was preparing her for a loss she couldn't survive. I promise, she lied, because she knew, even then, that when the moment came, she wouldn't run. She'd stay. She'd fight. Because somewhere in the past 3 weeks, Kwon Jehun had stopped being her captor. He'd become her home. The engagement was announced on Wednesday. The attack would come on Thursday. And Ada would learn that love in Jehun's world was measured in bullets and blood. The engagement was announced at dawn. Not a proposal. Not a romantic moment. Just a cold press release from the Kwon Syndicate's legal team, stating that Kwon Jehun would marry Adiza Okonkwo in a private ceremony within the month. Ada read it on her phone while drinking ginger tea at the kitchen island. You didn't ask me, she said when Jehun appeared in the doorway, already dressed in a sharp black suit. Would you have said yes? That's not the point. The point is survival. He crossed to the coffee maker, movements efficient and controlled. The announcement makes you legally untouchable. Killing you now means declaring war on the Kwon family directly. And that stops Sioyin. It makes her think twice. He poured his coffee, didn't add sugar or cream. Black. Bitter. Like everything else in his world. Her father won't risk open conflict. Not yet. Ada set down her mug. You're gambling with my life. I'm protecting it. He finally looked at her, and exhaustion shadowed his eyes. Every decision I make is about keeping you breathing, Ada, whether you believe that or not. She wanted to stay angry, wanted to rage against being used as a chess piece in his deadly game. But the man standing across from her looked haunted, desperate, like he hadn't slept in days because the thought of losing her kept him awake. How long? Her voice softened despite herself. How long until we know if this worked? 48 hours. He checked his watch. If Sioyin doesn't make a move by then, the announcement has its intended effect. And if she does? His silence was heavy. Then his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, and something shifted in his expression, tension coiling tighter, jaw setting hard. I have to go. He moved toward her, stopped himself, then closed the distance anyway. His hand cupped her face. Taejin will be here. 6 other guards on rotation. You don't go anywhere without 2 escorts minimum. Taejin. My head of security. You met him yesterday, tall, scar across his left eyebrow. Always carries 2 guns. Ada remembered. The guard with kind eyes who'd helped her carry groceries up from the car. Who'd smiled when she'd asked about his daughter. I trust him with my life, Jehun said quietly. More importantly, I trust him with yours. Then he kissed her forehead, soft, lingering. and was gone. Taejin knocked on her door an hour later. Mrs. Kwon. His voice was respectful. Warm. I thought you might want company. The boss said you've been alone too much. She wasn't Mrs. Kwon yet. Wouldn't be for weeks. But correcting him felt petty. I'm fine, she said through the door. With respect, ma'am, you've been in that room for 3 hours. The boss will have my head if I let you isolate. Despite everything, Ada smiled. Does he always micromanage like this? Only with people he cares about. A pause. Which, until you, was approximately no one. That cracked something open in her chest. She opened the door. Taejin stood in the hallway, professional posture, but his expression was genuinely kind. Up close, she could see the scar Jahun mentioned, a thin white line bisecting his left eyebrow. Military, maybe, or something darker. Walk with me, he offered. The building has a gym, a library, a private theater. You should know what's available. Ada hesitated, then nodded. They walked through corridors she hadn't explored yet. Taejin pointed out amenities with the practiced ease of someone who'd given this tour before. Had there been other women? Other people Jahun had kept in this gilded cage? You're wondering if you're the first, Taejin said, reading her expression with uncomfortable accuracy. Am I the first woman he's brought here? No. Taejin's voice was honest. The first woman he's looked at like she's the only thing keeping him human? Yes. The words hit harder than they should. They reached the library, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, leather chairs, a fireplace that probably never got used. And in the corner, a small desk with a laptop. He had this set up for you, Taejin said. Figured you might want to research recipes. Stay connected to your work, even if you can't physically do it right now. Ada's throat tightened. Every day, Jahun found new ways to show her she wasn't just a prisoner. Wasn't just an obligation. She was becoming something more dangerous. She was becoming his. The attack came at 2 a.m. Ada woke to the sound of shattering glass and screaming alarms. She sat up, heart slamming against her ribs, mind still foggy with sleep. The panic button was on the nightstand. Pressed twice for Jahun. Her fingers found it. Pressed once. Pressed twice. Footsteps pounded in the hallway. Shouting. A gunshot. Loud, close, making her ears ring. The door burst open. Taejin stood there, gun drawn, face spattered with something dark. We need to move. Now. What's happening? Seoyeon. He grabbed her arm, pulled her to her feet. She cut the power. Disabled security. We have maybe 3 minutes before they reach this floor. Ada's legs threatened to buckle. Jahun is on his way, but we can't wait. Taejin positioned himself between her and the door. Stay behind me. Don't stop running. Don't look back. They ran. Through darkened hallways lit only by emergency lighting. Past bodies. Guards she'd seen that morning, now crumpled and still. Past shattered glass and bullet holes in walls that cost more than her entire life back in Houston. Taejin moved like a soldier. Efficient, deadly, always checking corners before they turned. They made it to the stairwell. Down 1 flight. 2. 3. Ada's breath came in gasps. The baby. She had to protect the baby. Almost there, Taejin said. Extraction tunnel in the basement. Leads to a safe house 2 blocks away. You'll be. He stopped. Ada crashed into his back. Taejin. He didn't answer. Then, slowly, he turned to face her. His gun was pointed directly at her stomach. I'm sorry, he said, and he almost sounded like he meant it. Time slowed. Ada saw his finger tighten on the trigger. Saw the barrel of the gun, black, absolute, promising death. Saw her own reflection in his eyes, and the regret there that didn't stop him from doing his job. Seoyeon pays better than loyalty, Taejin said quietly. A gunshot exploded through the stairwell. Ada screamed, but the pain didn't come. Taejin crumpled instead, a perfect red circle blooming over his heart. His gun clattered down the stairs. His eyes went wide, surprised, like he hadn't expected his own death to arrive so quickly. He fell. Behind him, Jahun stood with his gun still raised. Blood spattered his face, his white shirt, his hands. His expression was absolutely merciless. Touch her, he said softly to Taejin's corpse, and this is what happens. Then his eyes found Ada, and something cracked in that cold mask. Fear. Relief. Raw. desperate emotion. Are you hurt? His hands were on her face, checking for injuries, his touch frantic despite the steadiness of his voice. Did he touch you? Did he? You killed him. Her voice sounded distant. Strange. You just. Yes. No apology. No regret. And I'd do it again. I'd kill anyone who threatens you. Her legs gave out. He caught her, pulling her against his chest, his heart hammering beneath her ear. Proof that even the Reaper could feel fear. I've got you, he whispered into her hair. You're safe. You're mine. No one can hurt you. His arms tightened, and she felt the tremor in his hands, the only sign that killing his most trusted guard had cost him something. He was your friend, Ada whispered. He betrayed me. Jehun's voice was flat. Dead. The moment he pointed a gun at you, he stopped being anything but a target. She should be horrified, should recoil from the blood on his hands, the body cooling 5 feet away, the casual violence that defined his world. Instead, she pressed closer, her fingers fisting in his ruined shirt. Because he'd saved her. Because he'd killed for her. Because in this moment, covered in blood and holding her like she was the only thing keeping him sane, Kwon Jae-hoon wasn't a monster. He was hers. They didn't go to the extraction tunnel. Too many unknowns. Too many possible betrayals waiting in the dark. Instead, Jae-hoon took her to his private office. Reinforced walls, panic room behind a hidden panel, enough weapons to start a small war. He locked the door, activated security protocols, then sank into his desk chair like his strings had been cut. How many? Ada asked quietly. Dead. His voice was hollow. 11. 7 of mine. 4 of hers. How many betrayed you? Just Taejin. His eyes closed. Just the one I trusted most. Ada moved to him without thinking, knelt between his legs, took his blood-stained hands in hers. I'm sorry, she whispered. Don't be. He looked down at her, and his expression was raw, exposed. He chose his side. He chose money over loyalty. Over you. His thumb brushed across her knuckles. I'd make the same choice 1,000 times. Killing him. Choosing you. The words hung between them. Honest, devastating, impossible to take back. Ada's hand came up to cup his face. You're covered in blood. I know. You should shower. Change. Rest. I can't. His forehead pressed against hers. That gesture again. The one that felt like an anchor in a storm. If I close my eyes, I see you dying. Over and over. His gun pointed at your stomach. Our baby. Everything on. His voice cracked. She'd never heard him break before. I'm here, she whispered. I'm safe. You saved me. I almost didn't. His arms wrapped around her, pulling her up into his lap, holding her so tight it almost hurt. 3 seconds slower, and you'd be dead. 3 seconds, and I'd have lost everything. But you didn't. This time, he pulled back just enough to look at her, and his eyes were fierce. Terrified. What about next time, Ada? What if I'm not fast enough? What if? She kissed him. Not gentle. Not asking. Just desperate need to stop his spiraling, to prove she was alive, to show him that fear didn't change what was growing between them. He groaned against her mouth, one hand tangling in her hair, the other splayed protectively across her stomach. We can't, he breathed between kisses. You're pregnant. You're traumatized. I just killed someone in front of you. I don't care. She kissed him again, harder. I don't care about any of it. I just need to feel alive. Ada, please. Her voice broke on the word. Please don't make me feel this alone. Something shattered in his control. He stood, lifting her with him, carrying her to the leather couch against the wall. Laid her down gently despite the urgency in his movements. Tell me to stop, he whispered against her neck. Tell me this is wrong. It is wrong. Her hands were already pulling at his shirt, kneading skin, needing proof that he was real and here in hers. But I don't care anymore. You should hate me. I know. She looked up at him. This beautiful, terrible man who killed for her without hesitation. But I don't. His kiss tasted like desperation and blood and something that felt dangerously close to love. And for the first time since that masquerade gala, Ada stopped fighting what she wanted. She let herself fall. They stayed in the office until sunrise. Not talking, just existing in each other's space. His arm around her shoulders, her head on his chest. both of them listening to sirens in the distance. Police responding to reports of gunfire in Gangnam's most exclusive building. They'll cover it up, Jahun said quietly. Gas leak. Electrical fire. Whatever story keeps the truth buried. Does the truth ever come out in your world? No. His hand stroked through her hair, slow and soothing. In my world, truth is whatever keeps you powerful, whatever keeps you alive. And us. She tilted her head to look at him. What's the truth about us? His expression softened. The truth is I'm obsessed with you. The truth is you've become the only thing I think about. The truth is I'd burn this entire city down to keep you safe. He paused. And the truth is I have no idea if that's love or madness. What if it's both? Then we're both doomed. His smile was sad. Beautiful. Because I can't let you go, Ada. Even if it's the right thing to do. Even if loving me destroys you. Maybe I want to be destroyed. Don't say that. His voice turned sharp. Desperate. Don't wish for that. Why not? She sat up, facing him fully. You've already taken everything else. My freedom. My choices. My safety. Why not take my ability to walk away? Because someday you'll hate me for it. His hand cupped her face. Someday you'll wake up and realize you're trapped with a monster. And when that day comes, I don't know if I'll be strong enough to let you go. Then don't. The words came out fierce. Final. Don't let me go? Don't give me the choice. Just keep me. Ada, I'm tired of pretending this isn't what I want. Tears burned behind her eyes. I'm tired of fighting something that feels inevitable. You want me? Keep me. Own me. Claim me. Whatever you need to call it. She pressed his hand harder against her face. Just don't let me go. His control shattered. He kissed her like a man drowning, like she was air and salvation and the only thing between him and oblivion. When he finally pulled back, his voice was wrecked. You're mine. Yes. I'll never let you go. Good. Even if you beg me to. I won't. She met his eyes, dark, intense, full of possessive heat that should have terrified her. I'm all in, Jahun. For better or worse. For blood and violence, and whatever nightmare comes next. You don't know what you're promising. Then show me. She kissed him softly. Show me your worst. Your darkness. Everything you've been hiding. And let me decide if I can survive it. Outside, Seoul woke to another day. Inside, two people stopped pretending they were anything but inevitable. 3 days passed. 3 days of heightened security, locked doors, and Jahun barely leaving her side. 3 days of him checking her temperature, her appetite, her stress levels like she might shatter at any moment. 3 days of Ada realizing she'd fallen completely, irrevocably, dangerously in love with her captor. She was in the kitchen making breakfast when the woman appeared. Not Seoyin this time. Someone older. Elegant in a different way. Refined features, expensive but understated clothing. The kind of presence that commanded respect without demanding it. You must be Adiz. The woman's voice was warm. Cultured. I'm Min Hannah. Jahun's mother. Ada's spatula clattered into the pan. His mother. She hadn't even known he had a mother. Had assumed, stupidly, that someone called the Reaper must have sprung fully formed from violence and darkness. Ada wiped her hands on a towel. I didn't know that he had family. Hannah smiled, and Ada saw where Jahun got his devastating smile. He doesn't talk about me. Safer that way. For both of us. She moved through the kitchen with familiar ease, pulling down mugs, starting the coffee maker like she'd done it 1,000 times. He hasn't told you anything, has he? Hannah asked. About his father. About how he inherited this life. No. Of course not. She poured 2 cups of coffee, handed one to Ada. My son is many things, but emotionally forthcoming isn't one of them. They sat at the kitchen island. Ada's heart hammered. 1, 2, 3, for beats. Why are you here? Ada asked carefully. Because my son is in love with you. Hannah's words were matter of fact. Simple. And he has no idea how to handle it. He's not. Ada started. Then stopped. We barely know each other. You're carrying his child. You survived an assassination attempt. You've seen him kill to protect you. Hannah's eyes were sharp. Kind. You know the parts of him he spent his entire life hiding from the world. That's not barely knowing someone. That's intimacy. Ada's hands wrapped around the warm mug. He told you about Taejin. He tells me everything. Hannah's expression softened with something that looked like grief. That boy, Taejin, he was like a son to me. Jehun's best friend since they were 16. I watched them grow up together. She paused. And I watched my son put a bullet in his heart without hesitation. He didn't have a choice. There's always a choice. Hannah met Ada's eyes. But when it came down to loyalty versus you, Jehun chose you. He'll always choose you. And that's what you need to understand. I don't. My son's father was a monster. The words dropped like stones. Not the romantic kind. Not the dangerous but secretly good kind. An actual monster who hurt people for pleasure, who built an empire on suffering, who taught Jehun that love was weakness and mercy was death. Ada's breath caught. When Jehun was 22, Hannah continued, her voice steady despite the pain in her eyes. His father ordered him to execute a man who'd stolen from the family. The man had 2 young daughters. He begged, offered everything, his life for theirs. What did Jehun do? He killed his father instead. The kitchen went silent. He put a bullet between his father's eyes, Hannah said quietly. Took over the empire that same night. And the first order he gave was that children were off limits. Always. No exceptions. Ada's hand moved to her stomach. He became what he needed to be, Hannah continued. Cold. Ruthless. Merciless. Because that's how you survive in this world. But underneath. She reached across, touched Ada's hand. Underneath, he's still the boy who killed his own father to save 2 little girls he'd never met. Tears burned behind Ada's eyes. Why are you telling me this? Because you're afraid of him. Hannah's grip tightened. You're afraid of what he's capable of. What he's done. What he'll do. She leaned closer. But you should be more afraid of what he'll become if you leave. What do you mean? My son has spent 8 years turning himself into a weapon. The only thing keeping him human is you. Hannah's expression was fierce. You think he's dangerous now? Imagine what he'll be if you take away the only thing he loves. The words settled like ice. You're not asking me to stay for him, Ada whispered. You're asking me to stay for everyone else. I'm asking you to stay because you love him too. Hannah's smile was sad. And because leaving won't save you. It'll just destroy you both. Before Ada could respond, the elevator dinged. Jehun stepped out, and his entire body went rigid when he saw his mother. What are you doing here? His voice was cold, controlled. The Reaper's voice, not the man who'd held Ada through the night. Meeting my future daughter-in-law. Hannah stood, graceful and unbothered by his tone. Someone had to tell her the truth about you. She doesn't need to know. Yes, she does. Hannah crossed to him, cupped his face with maternal tenderness. She needs to know you're more than the monster you pretend to be. Something cracked in Jehun's expression. Mother, I love you. She kissed his forehead. And so does she. Stop being afraid of it. Then she was gone, the elevator doors closing on her elegant figure. Silence crashed down. Jehun didn't move. Didn't look at Ada. Just stood there with his shoulders rigid and his hands clenched into fists. Is it true? Ada asked quietly. About your father? Yes. You killed him. Yes. To save children you didn't know. Yes. Finally, he looked at her. Does that change anything? Ada stood, crossed to him, took his face in her hands the way his mother had. It changes everything, she whispered. Then she kissed him. Soft, tender, full of all the love she'd been too afraid to name. When she pulled back, tears tracked down his face, silent, devastating, the only tears she'd ever seen him shed. I don't know how to be loved, he whispered. Then let me teach you. His arms wrapped around her, holding her like she was the only solid thing in a world that never stopped shifting beneath his feet. I love you, he breathed into her hair. I'm terrified of it. I don't deserve it. But I love you. I love you too. She pressed closer. So much it scares me. Good. His laugh was broken. Beautiful. We'll be terrified together. They spent the afternoon on the terrace. No guards. No threats. Just them and the city stretching endlessly below. Tell me about her, Ada said. Seoyin, why does she hate you so much? Jehun's jaw tightened. Because I chose duty over her feelings. That's not the whole story. No. He sighed. The whole story is that we were engaged for political reasons. Her father wanted an alliance. Mine needed one. We were 15 when the arrangement was made. 15. Old enough to understand what it meant. Too young to fight it. He stared at the city. She convinced herself it was love. That we were meant to be. That the arrangement was fate. And you? I felt nothing. His voice was flat. Nothing romantic, anyway. She was a colleague. An ally. Someone I respected professionally. Did you ever? Ada couldn't finish the question. Sleep with her? Jehun's laugh was bitter. No. Never. I tried once, thinking maybe physical intimacy would spark something. She kissed me, and I felt nothing. Less than nothing. Repulsion. When did you end it? The day I inherited. He finally looked at Ada. My father was dead. I had control. And the first thing I did was dissolve the engagement. How did she take it? She cried. Screamed. Told me I was destroying her. His expression darkened. Then she slapped me and said she'd make me regret it. And now she is. Now she is. He reached for Ada's hand. But here's what she doesn't understand. I'd rather have 3 weeks with you and die at 30 than spend a lifetime with her and live to 90. The words hit like a physical blow. Don't say that. Ada's voice cracked. Don't talk about dying. Ada. No. She turned to face him fully. You don't get to love me and then die. You don't get to make me fall for you and then sacrifice yourself like you're expendable. If it comes down to me or you, it won't. She gripped his shirt. Because we're going to be smart. We're going to be careful. And we're going to survive this together. You can't promise that. Watch me. She kissed him hard. I'm not losing you, Jehun. Not to Seoyeon. Not to your demons. Not to your goddamn martyr complex. His smile was devastating. Martyr complex? Yes. She didn't smile back. You've spent your whole life thinking you're disposable. That you're just a weapon. That your only purpose is protecting other people at the cost of yourself. That's what I am. No. Her voice was fierce. You're the man I love. The father of my baby. The person who makes me feel safe and seen and valued. She pressed her hand over his heart. And you're going to live, Jehun. For me. For us. For the family we're building. He pulled her into his lap, his face buried in her neck. I don't know how to do this, he whispered. How to be soft. How to be vulnerable. How to love someone without destroying them. You're already doing it. She stroked through his hair. Every choice you make, you choose us. That's love, Jehun. Messy, imperfect, terrifying love. What if I fail? Then we fail together. They sat like that as the sun set. Two people learning how to be soft in a world built on violence. My mom said nobody subscribes to stories about men like Jehun. Said the world doesn't want to see monsters fall in love. But you're still here. That means something. Subscribe or don't. But if you're in, you're in. No half measures. That's how this works. The call came at midnight. Jehun's phone buzzing, yanking them both from sleep. He answered on the second ring. What? His expression went cold. Hard. The Reaper sliding back into place. When? A pause. How many? Another pause. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He hung up. Ada sat up, dread coiling in her stomach. What happened? Seoyeon's father. Jehun was already out of bed, pulling on clothes with efficient movements. He wants a meeting. Tonight. Is it a trap? Probably. He strapped on a shoulder holster, checked his gun. But it's also an opportunity. For what? He looked at her then, and his eyes were fierce. Determined. To end this. Fear spiked cold and sharp. Jehun. Stay here. 6 guards outside the door. Panic button if anything feels wrong. He crossed to her, cupped her face. I'll be back before sunrise. Promise me. Her hands gripped his wrists. Promise me you'll come back. I promise. He kissed her forehead, her nose, her lips. I love you. Remember that. No matter what happens, I love you. The words felt like goodbye. Don't. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Don't talk like that. Just in case. He pressed one more kiss to her forehead. Just in case I don't get to say it again. Then he was gone. And Ada was left in the dark, counting heartbeats, praying to a God she wasn't sure believed in her anymore. 1, 2, 3, 4. Please let him come back. Please. The meeting would change everything. But not in the way either of them expected. He didn't come back before sunrise. Ada watched the sky lighten from purple to pink to gold, her hands wrapped around cold coffee, her heart counting every second that passed without him. 1 hour. 2. 3. The guards outside her door said nothing. Their silence was worse than words. At 7 a.m., her phone rang. Unknown number. Her hands shook as she answered. Hello. Mrs. Kwan. A woman's voice. Smooth. Professional. This is Dr. Yoon from Seoul National Hospital. Your husband was brought in 2 hours ago. He's stable, but the phone slipped from Ada's fingers. Stable meant alive. Stable meant breathing. Stable meant something had gone so wrong he'd ended up bleeding in a hospital instead of coming home to her. They wouldn't let her see him at first. Family only, the nurse said, her expression apologetic but firm. I'm his wife. The lie came easily now. Natural. True in every way that mattered. The paperwork says, I'm carrying his child. Ada's voice cracked. Please. I need to see him. Something softened in the nurse's expression. Room 304. But he's sleeping. The surgery. Surgery. The word felt like glass in her throat. Gunshot wound. Upper chest, near the shoulder. The bullet missed major arteries, but he lost a lot of blood. The nurse touched Ada's arm gently. He's lucky. A few centimeters lower, and we'd be having a different conversation. Ada's legs threatened to give out. The guard, one of the new ones, a quiet man named Miho, steadied her. I'll take you to him. Room 304 was at the end of a long hallway that smelled like antiseptic and fear. Ada pushed open the door, and her breath stopped. Jahun lay in the hospital bed, pale as death, bandages wrapped around his bare chest, for lines running into his arms. Machines beeped steadily, monitoring vitals she didn't understand but desperately needed to believe were okay. He looked small suddenly, vulnerable. Nothing like the Reaper who commanded Seoul's underworld. Just a man who'd almost died. Hey. His voice was rough, weak, but his eyes were open, tracking her movement as she crossed to his bedside. You came. Of course I came. She sank into the chair beside him, taking his hand carefully, mindful of the 4. You promised you'd come back before sunrise. I'm a liar. His smile was tired. Painful. Added to the list. What happened? Her thumb stroked across his knuckles. Who shot you? Seoyin's father. He closed his eyes. Not directly. One of his guards. After the meeting. The meeting was a trap. No. His eyes opened again. The meeting was complicated. Tell me. She squeezed his hand. Please. No more secrets. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, he offered me a deal. What kind of deal? His daughter for you. Jahun's voice was flat. Dead. He said if I gave you up, sent you back to America, dissolved our engagement, forgot you existed, he'd control Seoyin. Lock her away. End the threat. Ada's blood turned to ice. What did you say? I told him to go to hell. Jahun's hand tightened on hers despite his weakness. I told him I'd rather die than give you up. That he could take his deal and his daughter and burn them both. And that's when his guard shot me. His laugh was bitter. Turns out refusing a syndicate leader's generous offer is considered poor etiquette. You could have died. Tears spilled down Ada's cheeks. You almost died because you wouldn't give me up. I'd do it again. His free hand came up, shaking, to wipe her tears. Every time. I'd take 1,000 bullets before I let you go. You're an idiot. She was crying harder now. A stupid, reckless, beautiful idiot. I know. He pulled her closer, until her forehead rested against his uninjured shoulder. But I'm your idiot. Forever. Forever. They stayed like that. Her crying. Him holding her. Both of them breathing in the reality that they'd come within centimeters of losing everything. The door opened. Ada straightened, expecting a doctor or nurse. Instead, Cha Seoyin stood in the doorway. No designer dress this time. Just jeans and a hoodie, hair pulled back, makeup minimal. She looked young without all the armor. Human. Get out. Ada's voice was steel. Before I call security. Please. Seoyin's voice cracked. I just need 5 minutes. You don't deserve 5 seconds. Jahun tried to sit up, winced, fell back. Not after what you've done. I know. Seoyin stepped into the room, hands raised in surrender. I know I don't deserve anything. But I need you to understand. Understand what? Ada stood, positioning herself between Seoyin and Jehun's bed. That you tried to kill me? That you paid someone to betray him? That you've spent weeks terrorizing us? That I loved him? The words exploded out of Seoyin, raw and desperate. I loved him, and he threw me away like I was nothing. The antagonist humanity window. She waited until they were both staring at her. Then her shoulders dropped. The perfect posture. The cold control. All of it crumbling. I was 7 years old when they told me I'd marry Kwon Jehun. Her voice was small now. Childlike. 7. And I didn't understand what it meant. I just knew I was supposed to love him. So I did. She moved to the window, looking out at Seoul, but not really seeing it. I spent 13 years preparing to be his wife, learning everything about him. His favorite foods, his books, the way he took his coffee. I learned Korean traditional arts because his mother valued them. I learned to shoot because his world required it. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. I built my entire identity around being the perfect partner for a man who never wanted me. Ada felt something crack in her chest. Not sympathy exactly, but understanding. When he ended the engagement, Seoyin continued, it wasn't just rejection. It was erasure. Everything I'd been, everything I'd worked for, gone. She finally turned to face them. I didn't know who I was without him. Tears tracked down her face. Real ones, not the calculated crying Ada had seen before. My father was furious. Said I'd embarrassed the family. Failed my duty. He locked me in our compound for 6 months. 6 months of isolation and shame, and everyone whispering about how I wasn't good enough. Her hands trembled. When I finally got out, I was so angry, so desperate to prove it wasn't my fault. That if I couldn't have him, no one should. She looked at Ada directly now. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking you to understand the things I've done. Her voice strengthened. But I need you to know that the person who tried to kill you, she was broken, desperate, a ghost of someone who never got to exist for herself. And now, Jehun's voice was cold. What are you now? Tired. Seoyin wiped her eyes. So tired of being angry, of being my father's shame, of being the woman Kwon Jehun didn't want. She straightened her shoulders. I'm leaving Seoul. Tonight. My mother has family in Jeju. I'll go there. Disappear. Start over as someone who isn't defined by you. Why should we believe you? Ada asked quietly. Because I'm done. Seoyin's expression was honest in a way it had never been before. I'm done fighting for something that was never mine. Done trying to force love from someone who can only give it freely. She looked at Jehun one last time. I'm sorry. For everything. For Taejin. For the attack. For making you choose between mercy and survival. Jehun said nothing. His expression was unreadable. Seoyin turned to leave. Paused at the door. She's good for you, she said quietly. The way you look at her, that's real. That's what I wanted for 13 years and never got. Her smile was sad. Resigned. Take care of each other. Then she was gone. Silence filled the room. Ada sank back into the chair, her mind reeling. Do you believe her? She asked finally. I don't know. Jehun's voice was tired. Part of me wants to. Part of me thinks it's another manipulation. She looked broken. She was broken. He turned his head to look at Ada. That's what my world does. It breaks people who try to love in it. Am I broken? The question came out smaller than she intended. No. He reached for her hand. You're bending. But you haven't broken. And I'll die before I let this world break you. You almost did die. I know. His thumb stroked across her knuckles. And lying here, bleeding out in that alley, all I could think was that I'd failed you. That I'd made you fall in love with a dying man. You didn't fail me. She brought his hand to her lips, kissed his scarred knuckles. You chose me. Over safety. Over political alliance. Over your own life. Every time. His voice was fierce despite his weakness. I'll choose you every time, Ada. Until the day I die. Then don't die. She climbed carefully onto the bed beside him, mindful of his injuries, needing to be close. Stay with me. Grow old with me. Meet our baby. Build something that isn't just survival. His arm wrapped around her, pulling her against his uninjured side. Okay, he whispered. Okay. They fell asleep like that. Two people learning that sometimes love isn't about grand gestures. Sometimes it's just choosing to stay alive for each other. Ada woke to darkness. The hospital room was empty. Jehun was gone. Panic spiked sharp and cold. She sat up, looking around wildly, her heart hammering, and found him standing at the window. For pole beside him, bandages stark white against his bare skin, looking out at Soul like he was trying to memorize it. "You should be sleeping," she said softly. "Couldn't." He didn't turn. "Every time I close my eyes, I see you bleeding instead of me." Ada crossed to him, wrapped her arms carefully around his waist from behind. "I'm here," she whispered against his back. "I'm safe. You made sure of that. This time." His voice was hollow. "What about next time? What about when our baby is born and there's one more target? One more vulnerability? We'll protect them. Together. What if together isn't enough?" He finally turned, and his eyes were haunted. "What if loving you is what gets you killed? Then I die loved." She cupped his face. "And that's better than living empty." "Don't say that." His voice cracked. "Don't make it sound noble. Death isn't noble, Ada. It's permanent. It's final. It's you and our baby gone and me left behind in a world that means nothing without you. Then we don't die." She pressed her forehead to his. "We fight. We survive. We become the impossible story that everyone says can't happen. The crime lord and the chef. The monster and the woman who saw him as human." She smiled despite the tears. "We've already survived assassination attempts, betrayal, forced proximity. What's a little impossible odds compared to that?" His laugh was broken. "Beautiful. You make it sound easy." "It won't be easy." She kissed him softly. "But it'll be worth it." He held her then, in the dark hospital room with machines beeping steadily and Soul glittering below. And for the first time since his father's death, Kwon Jehun let himself believe in something beyond survival. He believed in them. The woman stood in the doorway of the darkened hospital room, unnoticed. She watched them hold each other, Ada's hands gentle on Jehun's scarred back, his face buried in her hair, both of them swaying slightly, like they were dancing to music only they could hear. Min Hannah had never seen her son look at peace before. She pulled out her phone, snapped a single photo. Then she sent a text to the number she'd been given 3 days ago. "He's chosen her. Completely. Adjust the plan accordingly." The response came instantly. "Understood. Phase 2 begins tomorrow." Hannah deleted both messages. Looked one more time at her son and the woman who'd finally given him something to live for. Then she disappeared into the hospital corridor, her heels clicking softly against linoleum. Some secrets, she thought, were necessary for survival, even if they destroyed the people you loved most. Natural engagement prompt embedded in character moment. "I built my entire identity around being the perfect partner for a man who never wanted me." Seoyin's words hung in the air long after she left. Ada thought about them that night, curled beside Jehun in the hospital bed, listening to his steady breathing. How many people did that? Built themselves around someone else's approval? Erased their own wants in service of being wanted? She wondered if anyone watching understood that particular kind of loneliness. The ache of loving someone who couldn't love you back the same way. Maybe everyone knew that ache. Maybe that's what made it so devastating. Morning came too quickly. Dr. Yoon appeared at 8 a.m., clipboard in hand, expression professionally neutral. "Good news," she said. "The wound is healing well. No infection. You can go home today if you promise to rest." "I promise," Jehun lied. Dr. Yoon's smile was knowing. "I've treated enough syndicate members to know what your promises are worth." She turned to Ada. "You're in charge of keeping him immobile. Doctor's orders. I'll do my best. That's all I ask." Dr. Yoon made a note on her clipboard. "Follow up in 1 week. No strenuous activity. No stress. And absolutely no getting shot again." "I'll try to avoid it," Jehun said dryly. When the doctor left, Ada helped him dress, slow, careful movements that made him wince despite his attempts to hide it. "I can do it myself," he said. "I know." She buttoned his shirt gently. "But let me help anyway." "Why?" "Because I need to." Her hand smoothed over his chest, feeling his heartbeat beneath the bandages. "I need to touch you and know you're real. That you're here. That I didn't lose you." His hand covered hers. "You'll never lose me. Don't promise things you can't control. Then I'll control everything." His voice was fierce. "I'll burn this city down before I let anything take me from you." She looked up at him. This beautiful, broken, dangerous man who'd chosen her over empire. I love you, she whispered. I know. His smile was devastating. I love you too. They went home. Not to the penthouse. Too exposed. Too many entry points. Too many memories of Taejin's betrayal. Instead, Jehun took her to a house she'd never seen before. Traditional Korean architecture nestled in the hills outside Seoul. Stone walls. Paper screens. A garden with a koi pond and cherry trees that would bloom in spring. What is this place? Ada asked as they stepped inside. Mine. He moved slowly, favoring his injured shoulder. I bought it 5 years ago. No one knows about it except my mother. Not the syndicate. Not my enemies. No one. You have a secret house? I have 3. His smile was tired. But this is the only one that matters. This is where I come when I need to remember I'm human. The interior was sparse but beautiful. Minimalist furniture. Clean lines. Windows overlooking the garden. And in the bedroom, a photograph on the nightstand. Jehun and his mother. He looked young, maybe 20, before the Reaper had fully consumed the boy he'd been. She took that the day I killed my father, Jehun said quietly. Said she needed proof that mercy still existed in me. Ada picked up the frame carefully. In the photo, Jehun's expression was haunted, lost, but his mother's hand was on his shoulder, grounding, present, loving despite everything. She knew what you'd done. She helped me hide the body. His voice was matter of fact. Then she took me here, made me tea, and told me I'd made the right choice. That I was still her son, still good. Do you believe her? Some days. He sank onto the bed, exhaustion finally catching up. Other days I think goodness is just a story we tell ourselves to justify the violence. Ada set down the photograph, joined him on the bed. You're good, she said firmly. Complicated, dangerous, but good. How can you be sure? Because you could have given me up. Seoyin's father offered you peace. An end to the war. All you had to do was let me go. She took his hand. But you took a bullet instead. That's not goodness. That's obsession. Maybe they're the same thing when you love someone enough. She leaned her head on his uninjured shoulder. Maybe goodness isn't about being perfect. It's about choosing the people you love over the easier path. He was quiet for a long time. Then, our baby is going to have the strangest parents. Ada laughed, surprised, genuine. A chef and a crime lord. Yeah, PDA meetings will be interesting. You think we'll make it that far? His voice was soft, hopeful. Parent-teacher conferences and school plays and normal things? I think we'll make it wherever we fight to go. She kissed his jaw. And I'm planning to fight for normal things. For boring. For safe. I'll give you boring. His arm tightened around her. I'll give you whatever you want. I just want you. Simple. True. Alive. Present. Here. Then that's what you'll have. He tilted her face up, kissed her softly. For as long as you'll keep me. Forever, then. Forever. Outside, the garden was peaceful. Birds sang. Water burbled in the koi pond. The world felt far away. Inside, 2 people held each other and pretended, just for a moment, that love could be simple, that survival could be soft, that they'd already won. But in Seoul, a plan was already in motion, and the greatest betrayal was still to come. The secret house gave them 3 days of peace. 3 days of Ada cooking in the sunlit kitchen while Jehun watched from the doorway, his shoulder healing slowly. 3 days of sleeping tangled together in the futon, her hand on his chest, counting heartbeats. 3 days of pretending they were just 2 people in love, not survivors of a war that never really ended. On the 4th morning, Ada woke alone. The space beside her was cold, empty. She found him in the garden, standing by the koi pond in the pre-dawn darkness, staring at his phone like it contained a death sentence. What's wrong? She wrapped her arms around herself against the morning chill. He didn't answer immediately. Just kept staring at the screen. Then, quietly, my mother's been lying to me. The words hung in the air like smoke. What do you mean? He turned the phone toward her. Email correspondence. Dates going back 3 months. Messages between Min Hannah and someone identified only as Director Choi. Ada scrolled, her stomach sinking with each line. The girl is perfect for containment protocol. Jehun's attachment is proceeding as projected. Pregnancy confirmed. Timeline accelerated. Phase 2. Extract assets. Neutralize subject. Relocate primary. I don't understand. Ada's voice was small. What is this? A plan. Jehun's voice was dead. Flat. A plan my mother has been executing since the night we met. That's impossible. The masquerade gala was random. I spilled champagne, you caught me. The champagne wasn't an accident. He took the phone back, scrolled to an attachment. A photograph. Ada at the hotel, carrying trays, a red circle around her face. Dated 2 weeks before the gala. She identified you, researched you, made sure you'd be working that event. Ada's legs threatened to give out. Why? Because my father had contingencies. Jehun's hands clenched into fists. Plans in place if I ever tried to leave the syndicate. If I ever wanted out. He looked at her finally, and his eyes were hollow. You were the exit strategy. Get me emotionally attached to someone powerless. Someone outside the organization. Then use that attachment to control me. Control you how? Trade you for my compliance. His voice cracked. Threaten you. Hurt you. Make me choose between your life and my freedom. Keep me locked in the syndicate by holding the thing I love most hostage. The words settled like ice. Your mother did this. Ada's voice was barely a whisper. Set us up? Manipulated everything. Not just set us up. He scrolled to another message. The pregnancy wasn't an accident either. She made sure we'd be alone that night. Made sure there were no precautions available in the room. Made sure I'd be drunk enough to be careless. Ada's hand moved to her stomach. The baby. Their baby. A tool. A chain. A weapon forged in intimacy. She used us, Ada breathed. She used you. Jehun's expression was shattered. I'm her son. I'm used to being a weapon. But you. He crossed to her, took her face in his hands. You were innocent. You were supposed to be safe. And she turned you into bait. Where is she now? I don't know. He pulled out his regular phone, dialed. It rang. And rang. No answer. She's not responding. Neither are half my security team. The ones she placed? Yes. His jaw tightened. She's been hollowing out my organization from the inside. Replacing loyalists with people who answer to her. To whoever Director Choi is. What's Phase 2? Ada asked quietly. The message said Phase 2 begins tomorrow. That was 3 days ago. Jehun's phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered, put it on speaker. Hello, son. His mother's voice. Warm. Familiar. Poisonous now. Where are you? Jehun's voice was ice. Somewhere safe. Somewhere you can't reach me. A pause. I know you found the emails. Why? The word came out broken. Why would you do this? Because you would have left. Henna's voice was gentle. Sad. You would have taken your inheritance, walked away, and left me alone in this world we built. So you trapped me instead. I gave you a reason to stay. Her voice softened. I gave you love, Jehun. Real love. The kind your father never let you have. The kind that makes you human. By manipulating an innocent woman. By engineering a pregnancy. By turning my life into a cage disguised as choice. Yes. No apology. Just honesty. Because loving her will keep you alive. Keep you careful. Keep you from taking the risks that would get you killed. Silence. Then Ada spoke. You used me. I saved you. Henna's voice was firm. You were drowning in debt. Working yourself to death. Alone. I gave you security. Protection. A man who would die for you. You took my choice. I gave you a better life than you ever could have built alone. Henna's tone shifted. And now you're carrying his child. You're safe. Provided for. Loved. Would you really trade that to go back to your studio apartment? And instant ramen? The question hung like a blade. Where's Director Choi? Jehun cut in. Who is he? An insurance policy. Henna's voice was calm. Someone who makes sure you stay exactly where you are. Powerful. Controlled. Mine. I'm not yours. You'll always be mine. The warmth in her voice was terrifying. I birthed you. Raised you. Turned you into the man you are. You don't get to leave me, Jehun. Not for her. Not for anyone. The line went dead. Jehun stood frozen, phone still in his hand. Then he hurled it across the garden. It shattered against the stone wall. She's insane, he breathed. She's completely insane. Ada's mind was reeling. Everything. The gala, the pregnancy, the attacks, even Seoyin's vendetta. It had all been orchestrated. controlled. Her entire relationship built on manipulation. Did you know? The question came out before she could stop it. Jahun turned, and the hurt in his eyes was visceral. What? Did you know what she was doing? Were you part of this? No. He crossed to her, desperate. Ada, no. I swear to God, I had no idea. I thought, his voice cracked. I thought you were real. I thought we were real. Were we? Tears spilled down her cheeks. Or was I just playing a role she wrote for me? You're real. His hands framed her face. What I feel for you is real. The baby is real. This, he pressed her hand over his heart. This is real. How can you be sure? She was crying harder now. How can either of us be sure when everything started with a lie? Because I love you. The words came out fierce, desperate. I love you in ways she could never have predicted or controlled. I love you more than her plan, more than her manipulation, more than anything she could engineer. But it started with her. Ada pulled back. We started with her pulling strings. How do we know what's real and what's programming? Because real doesn't need a script. He grabbed her hand, placed it on his chest again. Feel that? My heart races when you walk into a room. I can't sleep when you're not beside me. I'd rather die than lose you. She didn't program that, Ada. She just gave me the opportunity to feel it. Ada wanted to believe him, wanted to fall into his arms and pretend the foundation of their love wasn't built on manipulation. But the baby kicked, first flutter, barely there, and she remembered that even this life inside her was part of someone else's plan. I need time, she whispered. Ada, please. She stepped back. I need to think, to figure out what's real, what I actually feel versus what I've been manipulated into feeling. Pain flashed across his face. How long? I don't know. We don't have time. His voice turned urgent. Phase 2 is already in motion. Director Choi, whoever he is coming. My mother's people are everywhere. We need to leave. Now. Leave to where? She controls everything. Not everything. He pulled out a different phone, one she'd never seen before. I have resources she doesn't know about. Money she can't track. People loyal to me, not her. How do you know they're not compromised? Because they hate her as much as I do right now. His expression hardened. Pack light. We leave in an hour. Jahun. We can sort out our feelings later. He was already moving, pulling bags from storage. Right now, we survive. Everything else comes second. Ada stood frozen, her hand on her stomach, feeling the tiny flutter of life that was both miracle and manipulation. She'd come to Seoul to disappear. Now she was disappearing again. But this time, she didn't know if she was running towards safety or deeper into someone else's design. They were loading the car when the first shot rang out. Glass shattered. Jahun shoved Ada to the ground, his body covering hers. Stay down, he shouted. More gunfire. The distinctive crack of rifles. Professional. Coordinated. How many? Ada gasped. Too many. He pulled his gun, fired blind over the car's hood. We need to move. Now. They ran, half-crouched, using the car as cover, toward the house's back entrance. The garden exploded around them. Koi pond erupting with bullet impacts. Cherry tree bark splintering. The piece they'd found here being systematically destroyed. They made it inside. Jahun slammed the door, locked it. There's a tunnel, he said, already moving. Under the house. Leads to the road a kilometer away. Car waiting. You planned for this? I planned for everything. He pulled open a panel in the floor, revealing a narrow staircase descending into darkness. I just didn't plan for her. More gunfire. The door wouldn't hold long. Go, Jahun urged. I'll cover you. No. Ada grabbed his arm. Together. You promised me together. His expression cracked. I love you. I know. She kissed him hard. Tell me again when we survive. They descended into darkness. The tunnel was narrow, damp, lit only by emergency lighting that flickered weakly. They ran. Behind them, footsteps. Shouts. The sound of the panel being ripped open. Faster, Jahun urged. Ada's lungs burned. The baby made her clumsy. She stumbled. He caught her. I've got you. If I slow you down. Then we slowed down together. His voice was absolute. I'm not leaving you. They reached the end. A ladder, leading up to a hatch. Gunfire echoed through the tunnel. Closer now. Jahun went up first, pushed open the hatch, pulled Ada through. They emerged in a small clearing. A car idled nearby, driver's seat empty, keys in the ignition. Who? Ada started. Don't ask questions. Jahan pulled open the passenger door, helped her in. Just trust me. He ran to the driver's side. A figure emerged from the trees. Hannah, gun raised, pointed directly at Jahan. Get in the car, son, she said calmly. We're going home. No. Jahan's voice was steel. This isn't a negotiation. You're right. He stepped in front of Ada, blocking her. It's not. Hannah's expression flickered. I'm trying to protect you. By threatening the woman I love? By manipulating our entire relationship? By turning my life into a cage? By keeping you alive? Her voice rose, cracked. By making sure you have something worth living for. Your father was preparing to have you killed, Jahan. Did you know that? He thought you were too soft, too merciful. He was going to eliminate you and start over with someone more ruthless. The words hit like bullets. You're lying. I'm not. Tears streamed down Hannah's face. I found the contract. The hired killers. The timeline. You had 3 months to live. So I killed him first. I helped you put that bullet in his brain. And then I made sure you'd have a reason to stay careful. Stay protected. Stay alive. By using Ada. By giving you Ada. Hannah's gun hand trembled. I gave you love, Jahan. Real love. The kind that would keep you human. Keep you from becoming your father. At the cost of her freedom. Freedom is a lie people tell themselves. Hannah's voice gentled. Real security comes from accepting the chains that keep us safe. Then I choose freedom. Jahan's hand found Ada's through the car window. Even if it kills me. Hannah's expression shattered. Don't make me do this. Do what? His voice was quiet. Kill me? Your own son? Shoot her. The gun shifted. Aimed at Ada now. Get in the car, or I shoot her. Your choice. Time stopped. Ada saw Jahan's expression. The calculation. The desperate math of impossible choices. She saw him tensing. Preparing to throw himself at his mother. To take the bullet meant for her. No, Ada said. Both of them looked at her. She opened the car door. Stepped out slowly, hands raised. Ada, Jahan started. If I tell you to run, she said softly, you run. His eyes went wide. The promise. The prophecy. Reverse now. I'm not leaving you. Yes, you are. She looked at Hannah. You wanted me to keep him safe? To keep him alive? Then you let him go. Now, you take me. You use me however you need to. But you let him run. No. Jahan grabbed her arm. Absolutely not. We do this together or not at all. There is no together if you're dead. Ada's voice was calm. Certain. I love you. That means I choose your life over mine. Ada. She kissed him. Desperately. Finally. Run, she whispered against his lips. Please. Run. Tears streaked down his face. I can't lose you. You won't. She stepped away from him. Toward Hannah. Because I'm going to survive. And when I do, I'm coming back to you. That's not. Go. She screamed it now. Go, Jahan. Run. He stood frozen. Torn. Breaking. Then Hannah fired. Not at Ada. Into the air. Get in the car, she screamed at her son. Now. The sound shattered his paralysis. He looked at Ada one last time, memorizing her face, his expression absolutely devastated. Then he ran. Got in the car. Started the engine. Drove away. Ada watched him disappear into the trees, her heart shattering with each meter of distance. When the sound of his engine faded completely, she turned to Hannah. Okay, she said quietly. I kept him safe. Now what? Hannah lowered the gun and smiled. Now, she said gently, you meet Director Choi. A black van pulled up. Doors opened. Men in tactical gear emerged. Ada's world went dark. Ada woke in a room she didn't recognize. White walls. Medical equipment. The antiseptic smell that meant hospital or laboratory or something worse. She sat up slowly, her hand going immediately to her stomach. The baby. She needed to feel. Your child is fine. The voice came from the corner. A man stepped into view. 50s, gray hair, expensive suit, the kind of presence that commanded without demanding. Director Choi, Ada said flatly. Ms. Okonkwo. He smiled. Or should I say Mrs. Kwan? The engagement is legally binding, after all. Where am I? Somewhere safe. He pulled up a chair, sat like they were old friends. Somewhere Jehun will never find you. Fear spiked cold and sharp. If you hurt me, we're not going to hurt you. His voice was soothing, professional. You're far too valuable. That baby you're carrying? That's the future of the Quan Syndicate. I don't understand. Min Hannah came to me 3 months ago with a problem. Choi crossed his legs comfortably. Her son was becoming too powerful, too independent, too willing to walk away from the family business. She needed leverage, something that would keep him invested, compliant. So she made me the leverage. She made you the reason he'd stay. Choi's smile was almost kind. Love is the strongest chain, Ms. Okonkwo. Much stronger than fear or duty or ambition. And now? What happens now? Now we wait. He checked his watch. Your husband has been given coordinates. A warehouse in Gangnam. If he wants you back, he comes alone, unarmed, ready to negotiate. You'll kill him. We'll contain him. Choi's expression was placid. Return him to his role. Use your safety as motivation for compliance. It's very civilized, really. It's slavery. It's protection. He leaned forward. Jehun is brilliant, dangerous, and without guidance, he'd self-destruct within a year. We're saving his life by giving him a reason to be careful, by threatening mine, by offering him a trade. Choi stood. His freedom for your safety, his power for his family. It's not so different from what you've already accepted. The words hit harder than they should. Because he was right. She'd already traded her freedom for Jehun's protection, already accepted the cage, already chosen love over autonomy. He won't come, she said quietly. He will. Choi moved to the door. Because he loves you. And love makes even the smartest men predictable. He left. Ada sat alone in the white room, her hand on her stomach, counting heartbeats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Jehun was coming, and she had no idea how to save him. Natural engagement embedded in character's internal question. She wondered if this was love or sickness, if choosing someone over yourself was sacrifice or surrender, if the cage felt smaller when you walked into it willingly or when someone locked you inside. Maybe everyone watching had asked themselves the same thing at some point. When does protection become possession? When does love become leverage? She didn't have answers, just questions that wouldn't stop echoing. The door opened 6 hours later. Not Choi, not Hannah, a young woman in tactical gear, late 20s, scar across her cheek, eyes that had seen too much. We have 4 minutes, she said quietly. Can you walk? Ada stood slowly. Who are you? Someone who owes Kwon Jehun a debt. She pulled out a gun, checked the magazine. He saved my sister. Now I save his wife. This is a trap. Everything's a trap. The woman's smile was grim. Question is whether you're brave enough to spring it. She held out her hand. Ada took it. They ran. Through corridors that smelled like concrete and fear. Past doors that probably held other people's nightmares. Past guards who turned away, paid off or threatened, or simply unwilling to stop 2 women fleeing. They burst through an exit door into night air. A motorcycle idled nearby. Get on, the woman ordered. Ada climbed on behind her, wrapping her arms around her waist. The engine roared. They flew through Seoul's streets, a blur of neon and darkness and the desperate hope that escape was possible. The warehouse loomed ahead. Gangnam, industrial district. The coordinates Choi had given Jehun. He's in there, the woman said. Alone, walking into Hannah's trap. We have to stop him. We're going to try. She parked a block away, killed the engine. But Ms. Okonkwo, you should know, this probably ends badly. For who? Everyone. The woman's expression was sad. Love stories in this world don't get happy endings. They get survival. If you're lucky, then I'll take survival. Ada climbed off the bike. Where is he? The woman pointed to the warehouse's east entrance. Hannah's people have the exits covered. Choi's inside. Jehun walked in 15 minutes ago. Unarmed. Armed. The woman's smile was sharp. He's stupid in love, not stupid in general. Ada started toward the entrance. The woman caught her arm. Hey, whatever happens in there, you fought for him. Remember that. You chose this. I know. Good. She released her. Then go choose it again. The warehouse was dark except for a single pool of light in the center. Jehun stood in it, hands at his sides, surrounded by 20 armed men. Hannah stood across from him, gun drawn but not aimed. And between them, Director Choi, smiling like this was a business meeting instead of a standoff. Ah, good, Choi said when he saw Ada stumble through the side entrance. Everyone's here. Jehun's head snapped up. His eyes found hers across the space. The relief, the fear, the devastation. Let her go, he said quietly. Please. I'll do whatever you want. Just let her go. That's not how this works. Choi's voice was patient. You don't get to negotiate, Jehun. You get to choose. Choose what? Stay with us. Continue running the syndicate, marry the girl, live the life your mother planned. And she survives. She's protected. Your child grows up safe and loved. Or walk away. Take your freedom. Abandon your empire. Choi paused. And we kill her. Slowly. Painfully. While you watch from whatever hole you crawl into. Silence crashed down. Jehun's expression was shattered. You're asking me to choose between her life and mine. I'm asking you to accept that love has a price. Choi's smile was almost sympathetic. Your father never understood that. He thought power was enough. But you're smarter. You know that the things we love are the things that trap us. Then I'm trapped. Jehun's voice was hollow. You win. I stay. Just let her go. No, Ada said. Everyone turned. She stepped into the light, hands trembling but voice steady. No, she said again. You don't get to sacrifice yourself for me. Ada, I'm tired of being leverage. She looked at Hannah. I'm tired of being the thing people use to control the man I love. Then leave, Hannah said simply. Walk away. We'll give you money. Protection. A new life somewhere far from here. Just leave my son alone. Ada's laugh was broken. You think I could do that? You think I could just walk away from him? If you loved him, you would. If I loved him, I'd stay. Ada moved closer to Jehun. I'd choose him. Every time. Even if it means accepting the cage. Even if it means my freedom is the price of his survival. That's not love, Choi said. That's codependence. Maybe. Ada reached for Jehun's hand. Or maybe love is just choosing someone over and over until the choosing becomes who you are. Jehun's fingers laced with hers. Ada, I'm staying, she said firmly. Not because you trapped me. Not because your mother manipulated us. But because I choose you. Willingly. Completely. Even knowing what it costs. You don't know what you're giving up. Yes, I do. She squeezed his hand. I'm giving up the illusion of freedom. The fantasy that I could survive without you. The lie I told myself that love shouldn't require sacrifice. Tears tracked down his face. You deserve better. I deserve you. She turned to Hannah. So here's my counteroffer. We stay. We run the syndicate. We play the roles you wrote for us. But you never threaten me again. You never use me as leverage. You never forget that I chose this, which means I can choose to leave. Hannah's expression shifted. Something like respect flickering there. And if I refuse? Ada smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. Then you kill me. And you watch what your son becomes when the only thing keeping him human is gone. The threat hung in the air. Because everyone in that warehouse knew the truth. Jehun without Ada would be something far worse than the Reaper. He'd be the monster his father tried to create. Hannah lowered her gun. Okay, she said quietly. Okay. Choi started to protest. Hannah turned the gun on him instead. This is my family, she said. Not yours. Not anymore. The shot echoed through the warehouse. Choi crumpled, surprise frozen on his face. Phase 2 is over, Hannah said calmly. My son keeps his empire. His wife. His freedom to choose the cage. She looked at Ada. And you keep him human. That was always the real plan. Mother, Jehun's voice was strangled. I love you, Hannah said simply. And love means letting you choose, even when the choice hurts me. She set down the gun. I'm sorry. For the manipulation. For using her. For forgetting that control and love are not the same thing. You killed Choi. Jehun stared at the body. I killed the man trying to enslave my son. Hannah's smile was sad. Being a mother means doing terrible things for good reasons. She walked toward the exit. Paused. Take care of each other, she said without turning. That's all I ever wanted. Then she was gone. The armed men followed her. Orders given silently. Allegiances shifted. And suddenly, Jehun and Ada were alone in the warehouse with a dead body and the wreckage of everyone else's plans. Is it over? Ada whispered. I don't know. He pulled her against his chest, holding her like she might disappear. I don't know what's real anymore. What was planned and what was choice. This is real. She pressed her hand over his heart. Feel that? That's real. How can you be sure? Because I'm choosing it. She looked up at him. Right now? In this moment. I'm choosing you. Not because your mother manipulated us into meeting. Not because I'm pregnant. Not because I'm afraid. Then why? Because I love you. Simple. True. And love is the only thing no one can engineer or control or manipulate. It just is. He kissed her then. Desperate. Claiming. Full of everything he couldn't say. When they finally broke apart, he pressed his forehead to hers. We survived, he breathed. We survived, she agreed. Now what? Now we live. She smiled. However we want. Whatever we choose. Outside, sirens wailed. Someone had called the police. They had minutes before everything became complicated again. Run with me? Jehun asked. Always, Ada said. They ran. Together. Into the night. Into their future. Into whatever came next. Two people who'd been manipulated into meeting, but chose to stay anyway. Because sometimes the cage you choose is called home. And sometimes love is just survival wearing a prettier name. You've come this far through heartbreak, betrayal, manipulation. If this story is rewiring something in you, if you're feeling things you thought you'd buried, subscribe. My mom's still watching my subscriber count. The ending is coming. Let's finish this together. 1 year later, they would understand that freedom and captivity are not opposites. They're choices. And choosing each other every single day was the only freedom that ever mattered. 1 year later, Ada stood in the nursery, cradling their son. Oluwadamilare Kwan. God has vindicated me in Yoruba. They called him Dami. He had his father's dark hair and her brown skin, a perfect blend of both their worlds. 3 months old and already so loved it hurt. The penthouse felt different now. Not a cage, just home. They'd made changes. Opened the guest rooms to her mother and siblings when they visited from Houston. Filled the shelves with children's books in English, Korean, and Yoruba. Turned the office where Jehun had killed Taejin into a playroom, painting over blood with soft blues and yellows. Erasing the violence. Building something gentler. How is he? Jehun appeared in the doorway, still in his suit from the day's meetings, but his entire expression softened when he saw them. Perfect. She looked down at their sleeping baby. Absolutely perfect. He crossed the room, wrapped his arms around both of them. His family. His whole world. I never thought I could have this, he murmured against her hair. Peace. Love. A family that doesn't bleed. Neither did I. She leaned back against his chest. But here we are. Here we are. The syndicate still existed. Jehun still ran it. But differently now. No more children touched. No more forced arrangements. No more using love as leverage. He dismantled his father's empire and rebuilt it on different principles. Protection over exploitation, consent over coercion, mercy when possible. Was it perfect? No. Was it still violent? Yes. But it was theirs. Built on choices they made together, not roles they'd been forced into. Min Hannah lived in Jeju now. They'd exiled her, not as punishment, but as protection. Too many enemies remembered her manipulations. Too much blood on her hands from the old regime. She called every Sunday. Talked to Ada about the baby. Sent gifts. Never asked to come home. Some betrayals, even when forgiven, left scars too deep for proximity. But on those Sunday calls, Ada heard the grandmother's love in Hannah's voice. Complicated. Messy. Real. Do you hate her? Jehun had asked once, watching Ada laugh at something his mother said over the phone. No. Ada had thought about it. I hate what she did, but I understand why she did it. And somehow, it gave us this. She gestured to the life they'd built, the baby, the home, the love that had started as manipulation but became genuine. I don't know if that makes me strong or broken, she'd admitted. Maybe both, Jehun had said. Maybe that's what survival looks like. Seoyeon sent a letter 6 months after Dami was born. No return address. Just a postcard from Jeju with a single line. I'm learning who I am without you. It's harder than I expected, but I'm doing it. Ada had pinned it to the refrigerator. A reminder that even the people who hurt you were still people, still capable of growth, still deserving of the chance to become someone new. You think she's really changed? Jahan had asked, looking at the postcard with complicated eyes. I think she's trying. Ada had squeezed his hand. That's all any of us can do. The scars remained. Jahan's shoulder ached when it rained. Ada still counted heartbeats when anxiety spiked. They both woke sometimes in the night, reaching for each other, needing proof the other was still there. Love built on trauma doesn't erase the trauma. It just means you survive it together. Do you ever regret it? Jahan asked one evening on the terrace, Dammy asleep in his arms, soul glittering below. Staying? Choosing this life? Ada considered the question honestly. A year ago, she'd been alone, drowning in debt, working herself to death with no end in sight. Now she was wealthy, protected, loved by a man who'd literally taken bullets for her. But she'd also been manipulated, controlled, turned into leverage. Her freedom had been the price of her survival. Some days, she admitted, some days I wonder who I'd be if I'd walked away. If I'd gone back to America, finished culinary school, built a life that was just mine. His arms tightened around Dammy. I understand. But then I look at him. She touched their son's tiny hand. And I look at you. And I realize, I don't want that other life anymore. Maybe I did once. Maybe I should. But I don't. Why not? Because this is real. She met his eyes. Complicated. Messy. Built on broken foundations. But real. And real is worth more than perfect. He pulled her closer with his free arm. I love you, he whispered. More than I thought I could love anything. I know. She kissed his jaw. I love you too. Even knowing how we started? Especially knowing how we started. She smiled. Because we could have let the manipulation define us. Instead, we chose each other anyway. Every day? That's more powerful than any fairy tale. Dammy stirred in his sleep. Made a small sound. They both looked down at him. This tiny miracle born from manipulation, but raised in genuine love. What do we tell him? Jahan asked quietly. When he's old enough to ask how we met. Ada thought about it. The truth. That we were pushed together by someone else's plan. But we stayed together by our own choice. And if he asks if that's healthy, we tell him that health isn't always simple. That sometimes love means accepting complicated beginnings. That the cage you choose is different from the cage you're forced into. She paused. And we teach him to never do to someone else what was done to us. Break the cycle. Start a new one. She touched Dammy's cheek. One built on consent. Choice. Truth. Think we can do it. Jahan's voice was vulnerable. Raise him without the violence. Without the manipulation. I think we have to try. Ada leaned her head on his uninjured shoulder. That's all we can do. Try. Fail. Try again. Love him through the mistakes. Like my mother loved me? No. Ada's voice was firm. Like we love each other. With honesty. With the freedom to leave. With the choice to stay. Outside, a shooting star arced across the sky. Dammy yawned. Opened his eyes. Dark like his father's. Warm like his mother's. Hey, little one, Ada whispered. Welcome back. Jahan kissed their son's forehead. Then Ada's. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For staying. For choosing me. For making me believe I deserve this. You do deserve this. She cupped his face. You've earned this. Every moment of peace. Every smile. Every boring, beautiful, normal day. Normal, he laughed softly. I don't think we'll ever be normal. No. Ada smiled. But we'll be us. And that's better. If you're still here, heart full and eyes wet, thank you. Thank you for trusting me with your time. Here's my question for you. Have you ever loved someone you had to choose every single day? Not because it was easy, because it was worth it? Tell me in the comments. I read every one. Remember what I said about my mom? About proving her wrong? If this story touched something in you that felt untouchable, if it showed you that love can be messy and manipulated and still somehow real, subscribe. Not just for me. For the person scrolling tonight, trying to figure out if choosing to stay makes them strong or broken. You could be the reason they find this. One more thing. Where did you watch this from? Drop your city below. I love seeing how far these stories travel. And for everyone who stayed through the blood and betrayal and impossible choices, thank you for believing that broken people can still build something beautiful. Until the next one, take care of your heart. Choose carefully. But when you choose, choose completely.